I will be running this webinar with our expert, Krzysztof Przybelski. I'm responsible for growth at NetGuru, that is making sure that everyone on the planet knows us and wants to work us with as a client or as an employee. And Krzysztof is, I would say, former employee of NetGuru, but close friend and partner, and hopefully he will be back later this year at our company. Also joining us, there is Aleksandra Szarniewska. She's our technical specialist. She makes sure that we are doing this all right. So welcome everyone, and a quick intro about our plans and what we're up to. Krzysztof, could you move to the next slide?
Sure.
If you don't know us yet and you are here by the accident, we are NetGuru, which is a software consultancy. We are about 650 plus people, remote friendly or remote first company. That means we have offices, but we, since very beginning, allowed our employees to work remotely, and we work with clients remotely. But because of the current situation, we need to move to fully remote company in less than 24 hours, closed offices, closed all business trips. So here we are. And what we think, what we believe, that we have 12 years of practice doing remote stuff. And those remote practices are battle tested. That means we are, as a company, quite successful, growing. Clients are happy with us, and employees are giving us high notes. So we believe that we will be able to work with market that currently needs remote guidance, how to work remotely. And this is basically for us a way to share our expertise. There's no hidden catch here. Today we'll be talking about how we make our remote work visible for organizations, and Krzysztof will be guiding you through all the tips and inner workings of remote work. Our aim here is to have a discussion. So please use a Q&A button in Zoom to submit your question, or raise your hand. Then Ola will be return your microphone on so you can ask questions. We'll be wrapping this up and recording, so it will be available both for you and your colleagues or people who were unable to join. And then we will be also hosting other series or other topics on remote work with experts from our team. And we would love to hear as much feedback as possible from your side, what topics we should cover, what is really interesting, and how we should proceed. So without further ado, Krzysztof, the stage is yours.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. I'm very happy that we have so many of you joining us today. My name is Chris. If you want to address me directly in the chat, I know my name is very difficult. You can write Chris and it will be okay. I've been working remotely for the last 10 years, almost a decade. And for the last 2 years, I've been homeschooling my children. So I have some practice with a situation that is very new for some of us right now, having children at home, working from home with your partner. So I know how it is. I have some experience with that, and I will be sharing it with you today. We will be focusing on how to make the work visible, because this is one of the things that we see people are really stressed about, that they won't see each other, they won't see each other working, and that will impact the quality or quantity of the work that the organization or a team can produce. But to understand a bit more about where you come from and what are your current challenges and your setup, we want to know what is your default approach to remote work in your organization. And Ola will launch a poll in a moment, and you can answer the question so we know what kind of audience we have today. Is it working right now?
Yeah, actually it should.
Yeah, I don't think it is. but no problem. Let's move on then. And if you have anything, you can write your question in Q&A section of this tool. In the lower bar, you will find a Q&A button, and then you can ask any questions throughout the event, and we'll try to answer them after this presentation. I think we will have more time to answer the questions because we count on conversation. The content is not so important. It's just an invitation to have a discussion with you. So without any other delays, let's move on it. Most of our work is invisible. Unless you are producing any physical goods or objects, your work is not visible to others. And we very often find ourselves thinking about the quality or quantity of work depending on the amount of people working or how we see them working. We have this bias of judging the outcome based on the effort they make. And this is very different situation when you move to remote and suddenly you can't see your coworkers, you can't see your organization, how they move things around and how they talk to each other, how they produce outcomes that are important for your success. And many people have concerns, like how do I coordinate the efforts of my team if I don't see them? How can I make them work together if I cannot pull them together into one room and have a discussion? These are very popular concerns right now. If you have any others, you can use chat to share with us, and we will try to stress those points of the presentation that will address those concerns. And oftentimes, this kind of paradigm of thinking requires a massive shift, really a landscape shift in the way we approach the work. 300 years ago, George Berkeley asked if the tree is in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound if it falls? And we think about work this way, like what will happen if any of my employees, team members doesn't do the work well, if they are distracted, if they are maybe lazy, more than I think so, if they are having issues and problems, what will happen to the work of our organization? And I would like you to think about it in a completely different way, not what you will lose and what will be impossible in a remote setting, but what kind of opportunities it opens. How can you make your trees grow stronger and higher, not being afraid that they are falling from time to time? So this is one thing that I really want to stress out. And the solution for this in NetGuru is to make the virtual workspace, to design a space online that will make the work visible so that we can see what people are doing, what are the outcomes of our common shared efforts. And very often nowadays you will see those articles with top 10 tools for video conferencing, top 10 tools for project management. This is not very important. Those tools are not as important as the way that you use them, the way that your natural workflow is going in your company regarding different processes in different areas, what kind of culture you have, what kind of things will provide the less friction and will adjust easiest to the way that you work right now. And these are important questions, and it's not very crucial to choose the best available tool on the market because it might be not well suited to your organization. So think rather, how can you combine different tools in a common ecosystem that will be working together seamlessly, where data and workflow can travel from one tool to another and make the work frictionless for people that are doing it. And very often, once you have it, then automation can kick in and you can automate some mundane and boring actions that are repetitive and people don't need to remember about them. Computer can handle them just fine. And the last aspect that is very important in our culture in NetGuru is to empower people to change the ways, to change the processes, to change the tools, to experiment and find ways to make the process of work better. So I will be somehow connecting to those things you can see right now when providing you a very specific examples. One thing that will change when you move to fully remote setting is that you will write a lot more. Like writing will become a new speaking or talking between people, because you are forced to work in asynchronous mode. You have difficulties with quickly catch up, quick call with different people because they are busy, they are not available, they have family situation right now, and it won't be so easy as grabbing somebody on the corridor. So writing will be a new norm. And what you can notice here is a description of a process that we want to make very explicit and transparent, and that there are many people editing it, reviewing it, updating it. And this is very important. You cannot have one process owner or one guardian of an aspect of the work that will be a gatekeeper for introducing any changes. Actually, even new hires at NetGuru can edit and change and improve, show things that are not valid anymore, show outdated links, or show the way that we can improve the processes that we have, because very often new people joining our organization have fantastic ideas. So we don't put any barriers for them to change the way we work together. The only thing is you need to let people know that something has changed or you can do something easier than before. And writing is great for showing the context, why, and what is the best practice and how does it look like. But when talking about how, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we want to visualize how the process looks like, what kind of teams participate in order to make the work coming from the beginning to the end, what kind of people or roles are involved, what are the checklists that you need to remember that will ensure that the quality of the work is high, is up to the standards that we set for ourselves. And nowadays, this is very, very important. I think all of the organization, if they don't have it yet, they need to put some effort to have it very, very soon. Because with the disease that we have, the larger organization you have, the greater the chance that some of your people will end up in hospitals. So you will have holes in your processes. And unless they are very well described and available and transparent, you might face a situation when business continuity of some of your processes is at risk. So it's very, very important to have it available for all employees. In case anyone is down, the other can pick up the work and finish the job to not stop business moving forward. And once we have the description, it's very important to show the flow. So actually, what are the work items? Who is working on what? What are the different steps? And here we can see Trello that is used in our marketing team. And you can clearly see what's going on. Where are the blockers? Where are the missed deadlines? And one look on this board will tell you a lot about what is going on. It makes the work visible. You don't have to have a status meeting or call every team member to know what they are working on, because one look on this board makes it very, very easy to comprehend what's going on. This is a different kind of board, the JIRA board, which is mainly used in tech teams, but not always, because it's more integrated. It has more features or more possibilities to connect with different tools. And here as well, you can see who is working on what. You can filter, because there were many more tasks on this board, but we filtered down to only iOS to have clearer view. So even if you have large organization, you can just cut and select the pieces that are interesting for you and that will help move the work forward. And very often people tell, okay, but I'm working with my team in 7 different tools, programs, softwares already. Why I need to have this another one to just make them show me what they are working on? And people are spending their time somewhere different, and now they need to log into another system and just click, I made it, or I moved the task forward. So the idea here is to make this not only a reporting exercise, but actually move the work forward, automate some things, or make them easier for people who are doing the work, so that moving this card from one column to the other will actually help the people working on this work item. And for instance, when you are moving some tasks in this board, you are triggering different things happening in different systems because they are connected. They form an ecosystem of tools that we use that facilitate the workflow. In case of developers, once they move something in JIRA, they might trigger some code execution in GitHub that will build the app. And once the app is built, there is a notification to Slack, dear tester, your app is ready, you can start testing. And this is actually helpful for developer. He doesn't need to wait for this to make sure it happened, it's all good, and then go to his friend and talk that some work is needing his attention. He can just push this JIRA tasks, and everything else is done automatically, and he can move on to different things. In recruitment, in HR, for instance, we use Workable. If you change the status of a candidate, let's say we accept them for an interview, automatically the email is sent, dear candidate, we are very happy that we will meet and we can talk and we can continue the recruitment process. In Google Drive, there are created some files that will help us to conduct this interview. And in Slack, we have automatic notification that we need to schedule the conversation, the interview, and some people are needed for that. So again, it makes the work of recruiter easier, faster, and there is another benefit of moving this card or changing the status in one system. And automation is very important when you have a lot of information outside of the brains and heads of people, and they are in the systems. You can actually make them move between the systems automatically, much smoother, and make them focus on creative work, not on the mundane and repetitive work. So we want to automate as much as possible in order to make the work frictionless. And we use Slack as our main hub. All of the automation connections, integrations are coming to the Slack, so you can see how different tools behave, what is happening in different places in the organization. So if you are in the Slack channel about one project or process, you can see what is going on, what other people are doing, and it makes communication much easier. You just need to, for instance, write an ID of a task in JIRA, and there is a description. You can see all the details, so people don't need to remember, what are the numbers of all the tickets. It's automatically pulled from JIRA, and you can have a meaningful discussion in Slack. So this is like one source that shows us what is going on, makes the work visible. And the automation we use are also, some of them are using Zapier, which helps to connect different applications, and you don't need to know the code or not have any programming skills. You can just click through how they should behave. And sometimes we write our own scripts to make the work faster. And here there is a process in NetGuru when a developer or a team member is finishing the project and suddenly he or she has nothing to do. There is a process that makes them work on their own interest, that make them use this time to invest in their skills. And typically there is a person, engineering manager, who need to know what's going on when the projects are finishing, plan the work for somebody, coordinate this. And this was a lot of effort for a single person, as we have more than hundreds of developers right now. So we automated it. Once the project ends and somebody has no new project, there is automatic message that shows them what's going on and how should it work for him or her. And then at any given day that they are working on this investment project, they have a reminder, hey, please fill in what are the outcomes of your day, because this is very important. We want to learn, we want to know, we want to share those learnings in the broad organization. So there is no engineering manager involvement anymore. Like, this is all automated. And it's really simple. You can do it. It's like 3 clicks to define what will be the trigger, what are the actions that you expect. And if you have no ideas how to use it, you can go to Zapier or If This Then That web page, and you can find a lot of ready zaps or recipes for automation that you can use. And they are really inspiring, and you can see how you can make your work easier and faster. And tools is one aspect, like this ecosystems of different tools that we will use. But the other is, how do we work with them? What are the work processes? How people behave when they interact with those tools? And we want to emphasize that processes should not be something that constrains people. It should be something that frees them up, that enables them to be creative and to do their best, not something that they are feeling, is limiting their capabilities. And a good process is the one that, for instance, reduces the cognitive load, that makes you think less about things that are not very important and makes you focus on the things that are really, really crucial to make the things work. And what is important for us, that you can easily adapt it. As I told you about this description of the process, the same goes for the way we work. We want anyone to be able to change this process, to adapt it to their needs, because we have many clients, many different projects, many different contexts. So you cannot have a standardized process for all of the people in the company. It will always require some kind of adjustment to make it work for a given situation. And once people are empowered to do this, they will use it a lot, and they will improve, review, and update of processes that exist. And one of the things that we really emphasize that is important in remote setup is to have this kind of pulse check, regular meeting with your team, that you can discuss what's going on, how can we work differently, what's bothering you. And as we go to the office, there is this kind of mindset shift when we commute, when we prepare to go to work, when we come back from work, that switches from work thinking to home or family thinking. And we need similar things when you are working remotely to get into the right mindset for work, and also to disconnect when it's necessary. And as we are using Scrum in many of the teams, they are built in check-ins like daily Scrum, which is daily meeting that lasts for 10-15 minutes and makes people talk to each other, synchronize their work for a given day. And there is a bigger loop which lasts from 1 week to 4, which also move a work forward with some cadence, and you can reflect on what you did last time and what will be the plan, the goals for the next period of time. But even if you are not using Scrum, if you have strictly process-like work in your company or in your team, you can still do it. And this is very important, to set this cadence and make it work for people. So there is this sense of progression, and you can see what's going on, why the work is happening, or why the work has suddenly stopped. And this is not a status meeting. You don't want to have those talking heads, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 people describing what they did today or last week. This is not the way it should be, because you have already all those information in this system of work that you have created on those boards I showed you before. So one quick look on it will tell you everything about what is going on and what is the work status. So you don't need to talk about it. What can you talk about it is what makes the data that we see, the process health, the team health, the project outcomes, the way they are. If they are great, what we are doing better right now, what can we maybe share with other teams so they can do better? If the process or health is not as good as we expect, what can we change? What kind of experiments we can run in order to make it better for us? The second question, what can we give 100% of ourselves? It's very important right now, because right now there is a huge uncertainty in the world. People have different worries, concerns about their close ones, about different situations they are in. It's very important to create a space to talk about it within the team, to build expectations between people. How can we work together in order to give 100% of the outcomes that we want to give, even in spite of not having the full attention or availability of some team members. And also, this is very important for socializing, for team building. This is also an exercise or one of the goals of those status checks. And what we typically do is start meetings 10 past an hour, full hour, so that we have those 10 minutes for just catching up on what's going on in each other's lives and what's going on with their expectations of work or their reflections of what we had recently, or simply talking what's going on. So you can change every major calendar systems to have shorter meetings and to start automatically 10 past by default, and you can use this time effectively to socialize people and to somehow simulate the environment of an office where you can have those small talks. And processes, as I told you, are somehow defined, but there are some options, there are some modules, so they are elastic and they are adaptable. And this is something we really stress. For instance, here you have a simple checklist that will create starting tasks for a new project. We are starting a lot of different projects all the time. Doing this every time from scratch would be really, really painful for people responsible. So we aggregated all of the typical things that you need to do at the start of the project. And again, you can accommodate, adapt to technology you are using or some specific things, click the ones that are applicable, and you have ready starting list of the tasks that you can import to JIRA and have a full start of the project ready. Of course, if you need to, you can edit something, change before you upload. So it's once again very, very adjusted to the needs of the situation and context that you are in. So these are the things that we use to speed up the work, to make you not think about obvious things, and to ensure the quality of the work. And it's also making the work visible as we see those things popping up in the JIRA, and we know they are relevant. Everybody is feeling like we are progressing forward. And this is another thing that makes us go faster. Template for meetings. We used to have meetings with PM community that we are writing notes as we talk. But once we get across 50 members, it was not really efficient anymore. So now we make notes before we meet. We have whole week to put here any announcements, celebrations, any changes that are happening in our organization, so that when we actually have time to sit and read through it, we don't need to talk about it. And if we meet, we just talk. What are the concerns? Are there any questions? Is anything not clear? So that we focus on those things that matter, not to just reading the text or describing people what we are working at. This is very efficient, and with the move to writing, it's something that will save you meetings time, so you can use it your time more effectively. And here you can see also the productivity tip. So this is how we share knowledge. One of the ways that every time you have this meeting, there is some kind of productivity tip. So how can you make your work better, faster? What have you discovered, some new tools or new way of using tools? And then all of them are aggregated in one place. So when new people are joining, they can go to this link and benefit from the experience and knowledge of all the people that came before them. And we have also a web page, productivity.netguru.com, where you can see some aggregated ideas that we use at our work. We are sharing it with the whole organization and outside as well. So this is another way of sharing the knowledge and passing the good ideas throughout the organization, even though you cannot, have those meetings when everybody is participating and really interested in those kind of things. And one last thing, like any document, especially meeting notes, doesn't need to be boring. Here you can see how we approach a brainstorming discussion. First, we had a survey when individually each team member could answer what are his or her thoughts and reflections of the subject. Before the meeting, we could aggregate some common themes and see what would be the topics of our discussion, what is interesting the most for the people that are coming. And of course, there is a link to detailed notes at the end. And this is really attractive. It makes you want to read it and to go through it. And it's also one of the ways that make the work visible. And one aspect that I already mentioned is adaptation. Inspection and adaptation is very important. So we make these regular checks where we discuss how can we change the way we work. And sometimes they are very formal, or we use dedicated tools. Sometimes they are less formal. Sometimes they are very informal, where we show our creativity, and we also unearth some issues that are very hard to talk directly, but by using metaphors or this artistic skills approach, you can really have a discussion that leads to very interesting outcomes or insights about what is going on in the team, how people are feeling, what they are struggling with. And people love it. Quick check, once again on Slack, you can vote by emojis whether the meeting was helpful or not. And as it's one of our values to experiment and learn from it, really like it. And you can see it really works. It's not just something we do for fun, but it brings us the business results and makes us go faster. So this is the end of the, let's say, formal part. And now we are ready to answer any of your questions. If anything I described is striking a nerve or an idea, or whether you have anything connected with this subject we discussed.
Thank you, Krzysztof, for a great presentation. And already there are some questions I would like to touch on. I already tried to answer them on chat, but I will now rephrase them. So question is from Przemysław Turkowski. How much time do you spend creating flow? It seems quite consuming. So I understand that was one of the screens Krzysztof was sharing with our workers in one of our teams. My answer will apply to everything you're trying to build right now. Start small, super small, focus on one problem that you're trying to solve, and then iterate on it, build on top of on it, and see what is working. And then you will get such a beautiful flow that it looks humongous and complicated, but it's built on the real needs. So it is not like we're building such flows perfectly well written and thought out. At the very beginning, we start with a small exact problem and we build on top of it. The second question was from Agnieszka Mirek about onboarding new people online. What is the most challenging thing about this? Many clients ask us how to conduct onboarding for new employees who work remote. So this is really good one, because currently we are solving this issue ourselves. Historically at NetGuru, with the first onboarding day, we did on site in our headquarter office in Poznan. Right now we need to do this all remotely. That means signing the agreement between new employees, sending new computer, etc., etc. So I can contact you with our operations team who can walk through how we are doing this right now. In terms of onboarding online after such first day on site, I will be able to share all the information from our community and employer branding team. In short, we have a lot of documents that help people navigate through those first days. Also, each new team member has an assigned mentor who walks through this new person on every meeting or every participates in every task that is new for this person. We have also quite well-written public and iterated checklist for new employee. So we go through those checklists so we make sure that we are not missing anything. And also we are focusing on, let's say, social type of activities during this onboarding time. For example, I am head of growth, responsible for building our brand strong. So new team members, for example, from business development team, during their onboarding, they have assigned a 30-minute meeting with me as a key partner for their work. And we basically meet and greet and we are talking about it. But this is quite long process, this onboarding. As far as I'm concerned, it takes for like 1 month to fully onboard someone. And apart from this first day, it's fully digital. So happy to share more info if you email me after the webinar. Krzysztof, I think there is a question for you about tools that can track people's work automatically when they're remote. Some companies use mouse and keyboard trackers for this. What do you think about such solutions?
Yeah, there are some emails right now circulating LinkedIn or any other social network that you use from executives to the companies that you need to have your cameras always on. You need to report every hour. You need to respond to any written message within 2 minutes. I think it's ridiculous, and it's not going to play out very well for those companies because, as Radek mentioned, the trust is very important, and those kind of things are putting the unnecessary stress on people. And once they are given the trust, they also reciprocate this trust. And this is highly effective way of engaging employees. If you use those kind of tools, you are effectively disengaging your team members. So this is not the way companies should go, definitely.
And if my add, they will fake work or fake activity if they need to do something else. And clearly remote work environment, especially if you have families, sometimes you just need to go or move somewhere else because of a kid or something. So if you put such policies into life, people will be lying by or faking stuff to you. Doesn't sound like a great management strategy.
Yep. And some question about the automation. Do you have dedicated people or teams for doing that? Not really. Like we count on every people to be able to do it. So it's not very hard to do those simple ones. For more sophisticated integrations, we use people who are free of the project. They have this investment time. They can be helpful in solving problems of some teams if they are well defined. But this is not something we have a dedicated people that will manage those integrations or automations. And we try to build them in a way that if they fail, they let us know that it's failing. So if there is any issues, if something is not working as it used to, API of some tool has changed and now it's sending different responses and some automation has failed, then we just fix it. If the abilities and knowledge about how it works is well documented and people know how it works, fixing it doesn't take a lot of time or effort.
And if I add to this about this automation, dedicated automation people, so in my team's growth team, we have a person or a team that is called demand generation and marketing automation. And we have people who are responsible for maintaining such automation or learning best practices. But like Krzysztof said, they are also doing other stuff. This is not their only thing to do, but we want to keep them accountable if stuff is failing, like Philip asked what we are doing. So these are people that check those systems, check if everything is working all right, and also they're responsible for repairs if something is broken. But we believe all people on the team should be able to use simple integrations or simple API connectors via Zapier or simple or similar tools. It is not as that hard as it seems like, especially if you start slow. And was a question from Philip. I will try to answer this. So what happens if a workflow automation gets interrupted? Is there a notification, error management? So yes, for key processes, there is an error management and there is some kind of SLA, people assigned to it. But like I answered on the chat, if something breaks and no one sees it, there's no real interruption in a work, it probably means you don't need this integration or this automation. Let it die. Work on stuff that people are actively using, that the usage is visible for all of the team, that is clearly the bloodstream of your organization. Leave all things that you had great idea for, but no one is using, and we will be much better organization that way. Also, you will be focusing on stuff that people are using daily and seeing daily, not something that you believe is important.
Cool. There's one more question from Marcin. During the stand-up, you don't share the usual what happened since yesterday, but focus on blockers risks because you assume that all of the progress is communicated via JIRA. Yes, I think that describing what you have done, if there is a track of your work in some system, is the most efficient way to kill the vibe of the meeting. Like, this is the most boring activity, unless you really work on very, very complex things, and it requires discussion to just have other people understand what's going on. But otherwise, it's a waste of time, in my opinion. So we focus on what can we do in the future, during the day, better, or how can we sync up our efforts so that we don't disturb each other's, rather than talking about yesterday's weather and yesterday's achievements. This doesn't put much value in most of the cases.
And there is a question from Marta Skierkowska. Hello, Marta. Marta is my neighbor. We live in the same building. So what if you work with clients using different tools and wanting to conduct a project on their tools? Do you adapt to it or try to convince to your solutions? How do you teach the client how to use the tools you suggest? This is a really good question, and there is no simple answer, unfortunately. I will give you 3 scenarios. So scenario number 1 is that the client is quite well oriented in remote and digital work, and they have their own systems already, and they want you to work on their systems. That is quite hard to change their mind. Usually we agree to work on their systems. What is our tactic is basically we try to also make them use our systems or onboard to our workflows and show them that the best system should win. And it often works. Often our clients ask us if we can use your systems, or can you teach us doing the way you are doing this? So basically it's a cultural type of, maybe war, it's a bad word, but competition. So let the best culture win. The second scenario is that client is not really adapted to such work. We have clients from, I would say, bigger organizations or corporate world, and they're used to emailing everything, those humongous email chains, no real-time work, no ability to work on cloud tools because of some kind of restraints. So this is hard. This is both culture and compliance type of work for us. We try to convince them to use, we onboard them, we help them do it, but it's less about tools, it's much more about the mindset. So you need to provide value for them. You need to prove to them that using your approach will be fruitful for them and will be more successful for them. Basically, that the project will be more successful. And there is this third scenario, and this is the hardest one. If you work with clients that are, I would say, non-digital or non-cloud, so those people are used to sending 1 email a week and asking for a report, ideally in a Word document. And this is really hard. Basically, it sometimes it is needed for us to have a honest conversation with such a client that maybe this is not a great fit to work with us, or that we feel that the project might be endangered because of it. So my suggestions, in short, show the value, show that this culture is something you don't need to be afraid. Don't try to make people do it. It won't work. Krzysztof, any tips on it?
No, not really. I think we can move to another question, because this is a very interesting question from Sebastian. Do teams working remotely organize casual meetings to catch up and to simulate drinking coffee together in the kitchen or other forms of getting together? We will describe it in detail in one of the upcoming webinars when we focus on building the organization, the morale and engagement. I think this will be many examples of such activities will be presented, but shortly answering, yes, especially now when we don't have office or opportunity to meet face-to-face, there are more and more different ways to socialize and to simulate this small talks and having this really strong social connection with each other. This is more important now than ever.
Let's go to another question. I cannot read the name because it's not in Latin language, text. But the question is, how do you usually evaluate the healthier efficiency of your workflow and the timing to improve or add some new tools? I would say we focus on feedback of the teams internally. If people are complaining about something, or they are complaining that they are unable to finish their task in a timely manner because they need to do something manually or they need to type in some kind of a bureaucracy, these are the clear signals that we should think about the workflow and look if it's efficient. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that you need to have not only qualitative type of feedback, for example, 3 people saying that this is something that hampers our work, but also quantitative in terms of increasing number and impact, business impact on a company. So probably a lot of people will be saying that Salesforce is not a great tool because of feature A, B, or C. That is correct. But on the other hand, 300 people are using the Salesforce day to day and they are okay with those features. And on the other hand, we are unable to live without Salesforce. So we won't be evaluating healthier efficiency of key Salesforce workflows if they are not measured properly with a business impact. And also one thing about the automation or efficiency of collaboration between the remote teams. So always ask yourself a question if introducing new workflow or automation or process will be really cheaper than making stuff manually, because the volume of things that you want to automate is really important. If something happens rarely, once per week, probably it will be much cheaper and much more effective to do it still manually, because automating it won't give you a huge advantage. There are some kind of calculators online. I hope I will find them and share with you to answer your question, where should I automate and is it a good time to automate? Mm-hmm. You should always leverage this real need of business and perceived need of your team.
And I will add a bit different perspective from project teams where we are working for a client and we are working for external clients that are really interested in, the way and amount and the quality of the things we actually deliver, not necessarily about the process, how it's done. And oftentimes you need to convince this external client that we need to spend some time, meaning your money, to improve the way we work. And with external client, this is very, very obvious that this is lost money. With internal, this is the same situation. And every time you approach this kind of discussion, it's very important to come prepared and understand the effort and impact and the desired outcome of this. If we can somehow quantify it, show what is the actual, let's say, cost of not doing those things, or how much of time is not efficiently used and client is losing money as we do the work that we do, then it will be very hard to sell this kind of idea. So you need to come prepared and show what is the plan at least, and make it as convincing as possible to make the buy-in from the client, sponsor, etc. And of course, then you iterate and you always start small. You don't do like massive changes and turn everything upside down, because that would be not efficient way to do. You start small and get buy-in for small improvements as they are possible, and then try to build up the case for investing more time and showing how it will pay off to the client in the long term.
And I see a question from Grzegorz. Remote work works great when it works. Smiley face. How do you know if a team member is under-delivering? What tools do you have to monitor activity, delivery, performance over time? This is a very good question, and the answer is a very simple one. So we don't have such tools. We do have leaders and managers and the social structure. So we structure project that way that you cannot hide yourself, or we we hope you cannot hide yourself under delivering. You have checkups from your leader, you have peers in your project. The work, if we are doing everything right, is visible for both clients and for team members. If it's an internal project, it also should be clearly visible. So it is not like when you are, it's easy to under deliver, because it would mean that you are, not present in some way. The tougher part is that you can fake productivity, or you can sometimes fake visibility, like doing 2 hours work a day, but but move in a different chunks for 8 hours, and to look like you're highly productive. Well, it requires both great institutional culture, so this leadership, but also I would say health checks of a project. Things like doing demos, are we progressing with something, or measuring different, I would say, health checks of a project, not only checks in terms of we do development, so development checks, but also delivered business value or timeline or everything that we agreed with the partners. I think Krzysztof also can talk about this more.
Yeah, I think that we are really focused on transparency of our decision-making process, of our activities, of work processes, of the outcomes that we produce, and desired ambitions or goals that we have, and results. And this transparency works for us. If something is not visible in the systems, we have those one-on-ones, regular meetings with your leaders so that they can understand a bit more. And the most interesting case for me is when we set to do something ambitious, something new, something innovative, but we fail. And then it's very hard to say, whether the person was productive or not. But I think that our organization cultures is built in a way that it encourages it. Like, we know that you can fail 10 times, but 11th time, when you win this kind of effort, you pay off all of those previous attempts that didn't work out. So we really, really believe that being ambitious and trying new things will move the whole organization forward and enable us to do the innovative, interesting, and then really engaging things for the whole organization.
Someone with a nickname PMRCK asks, how do you do workshops with a client? I think it is difficult to do everything online. Whiteboard, sticky notes. Oh, absolutely. We are currently moving to new tool set. This is one of the jobs that we are currently on, how to move our great workshops that we are really proud of and we love them and clients love them, to online environment. We use different tool set. One of the tools I really recommend is Miro.com. It's a whiteboarding / sticky notes tool. Also, it is in real time, so it allows you to, like, we are in the same room, digital room, with other people. It's not asynchronous. So this is what we are doing right now. But honestly, I cannot answer you if this is working well. I hope it will. If we know more, please leave your email or email me after this webinar. And if I will have more details, I will email you with more precise information.
Yeah, there's a question the name of the tool is Miro, M-I-R-O, but there are many tools that do the thing, and you need to think how you combine this with different tools that you use and whether it fits your needs. So don't be focused on this one this one brand. And there's an interesting question, and one of the last that we can answer because we have 5 minutes left, from Sebastian. How do you help more junior team members to find themselves in the new situations? They cannot have as much attention as they had working in one room with other people, more experienced colleagues. Yeah, and this is a special, let's say, special case for a leader. And more junior members typically have a buddy or a mentor that is helping them out, is there for answer their questions and to direct them in the right places in the systems or in the organization, and find the right people for some requests that he or she might have. And also a leader is more engaged, like meeting more frequently, going on one-on-ones more thoroughly through those difficulties and challenges and how they can be resolved. And also we try to distribute in the entire organization a lot of materials for self-help and self-education. This productivity.netguru.com webpage is one of them, and internally we have also many resources that you can use and, let's say, learn from the experience of the people that have the same problem before many times. And they describe, they write what were their insights and solutions, so you can learn from the whole organization.
Cool. So I think we answered all of the questions, and the time has ended or almost ended. So just a quick wrap up of everything. One more thing for us to share with you. You will get a recording and you can freely distribute with your friends. Hopefully we'll be presenting all of this in our social media. And we really need your feedback on this. So email me or Krzysztof or use other channels to contact us. The plan for us is basically to cover all the stuff that is needed, like remote communication or engagement or managing people or recruiting people or doing marketing and sales or anything that is needed for a well-run organization to function. So, and we will be deciding what's next thanks to your feedback and your requests. So let us know, and you can email us here. As you can see, it's radek@netguru.com. Krzysztof is a NetGuru consultant, but he's using his private email, and he's remote consultant as well. So feel free to pick his brain. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please let us know. We'll be in touch with you with recording on your email boxes. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.